Welcome back to the Grand Slam channel. This video will be covering the final two matchups to decide who is going to the Super Bowl. We got the Commanders versus the Eagles, and then we got the highly anticipated matchup between the Bills and the Chiefs. Both games should be great. They should both come down to the wire. Reminder, we got the Jaden Daniels free square, 0.5 passing yards. I will post that early tomorrow morning, or by the time you see this video, should be posted on my X and Instagram accounts, obviously on my cord as well. Still see if I'm gonna see if I can find a good gobby for it, or probably do a regular prop. But Jaden Daniels, he is my play of the day. I'm gonna be taking him on multiple slips, multiple props. Obviously, I am gonna be taking advantage of that 0.5 passing yards. But Jaden Daniels, I am going with him. Passing yards, 225, definitely taking it over. Fantasy score, also taking it over, which is at 22. It's probably going to get bumped to 22.5, if not to 23. Rushing yards, also in play, 55.5. Pretty much everything for Jaden Daniels I will be taking. Next up, we're going to head on over to is Jalen Hurts. And the only prop that I like for Jalen Hurts tomorrow or today, by the time you're watching this video, is just his rushing yards, which is you can get it at 31.5. This is going to definitely get bumped to 33.5, maybe to 33 closer to game time. But definitely taking his rushing yards at 31.5. And that is the only prop I'm going to go with him. As far as his passing yards, 190, obviously he can go over, but when you have a Saquon Barkley in the backfield, I mean, Saquon Barkley is going to run over all over the Commanders tomorrow. Not sure if Jalen Hurts has to step up if they're going to have a shot to beat the Commanders, because I know Jaden Daniels will. But last time Jalen Hurts played against the Commanders, he didn't have one of his best. He only had 11 passing yards. I believe he had a injury mid-game. But overall, he didn't have a good game against the Commanders. On the opposite side, Jaden Daniels had one of his best career games. Obviously, he is a rookie. But for Jalen Hurts, I'm definitely going to be taking his rushing yards at 31. Definitely going to get bumped. I think he's going to have close to 50 yards in this one. But rushing yards is definitely in play. Everything else, I'm going to completely fade. It's just his rushing yards that I'm going to be on. Brings me up to my wagon, and that is De'Ami Brown. I mentioned him 2 weeks ago. The past 2 weeks with De'Ami Brown, he has good communication with Jaden Daniels. It seems it's one of his favorite targets. Obviously, he has Zach Ertz too, Austin Ekeler. But De'Ami Brown has been a sneaky option for him. I'll be taking his receiving yards. I'm most likely going to be targeting his receptions at 3.5. I believe you can get him at 3 on other platforms. Or you can just take his Gabi at 2.5. This is excellent value. I haven't projected to get more than 4. So at 3.5, you can obviously take that. I am going to go with his receiving yards. If you want to play it safe, you can take his Gabi as well. Fantasy score is definitely in play, and so is his longest reception. You can see the past two playoff matchups, he's gotten well over 20 yards. I don't see anything different going against the Eagles as well. I think last time against the Eagles, he had 51 yards as the longest reception. So he can cash that just on one reception for his receiving yards. This is excellent value. This is probably my play of the day as well with Jaden Daniels. Obviously, you can't put them in the same slip if you're doing a two-man. But these three props, I mean, those are as lock as you can get. Obviously, there's no locks in gambling. But these are excellent value as of now. I don't think it's going to be a highly defensive game. I think it's going to be a shootout. As if there's going to be any defensive game, it might be the Bills or the Chiefs. Usually is in the past prior matchups, but both of them can be blowouts. I'm just hoping it's being competitive, and I think it will. Obviously, we got the last 4 teams standing. Next prop is actually going to be Saquon Barkley, like I mentioned. And for him, everything is pretty juiced over. Even DG Fantasy still has him going over, with the exception of his fantasy score. 127.5. I mean, he can get that pretty easily, but 127.5 is asking too much. Last time against Washington, he had 150. Obviously, his playoffs. They're going to play good defense again against them. So overall, I'm going to be taking his 89.5 rushing yards and play it conservative. But if you want to take his Rushing yards 127.5. I definitely think he's gonna go over. But I'm gonna be taking his Gabi at 89.5. You can also look at his rushing and receiving yards. It's not bad at 119.5. Fantasy scores a little bit juiced over. As you can actually, it went down. It was at 22, so it got bumped down to 21.5. So obviously, a lot of people are following the daily grind fantasy model, which had him juiced under. So at 21.5, I'm just gonna completely fade. Obviously, he went off against the Rams. He had over 200 yards, but he can go over. He can go over his rushing yards at his line at 127.5, but he still can't cash his fantasy score unless he scores a touchdown, and even going 127.5. So it's a big reason why I'm just going to be targeting his Gabi at 89.5. And my final prop is actually going to be a receiving yards combo. And that is between Khalil Shakir and Travis Kelce. These two are going to be the main targets for Mahomes and Allen. So Shakir and Kelce should both go over at least 70, 80 yards each. So this combo should easily cash at 128.5. Zach Ertz and Dallas is another good one at 73.5. But if you want to take Dallas by himself, I think the good prop for him is his receiving yards or his receptions. I believe his receiving yards is at his regular line. Where is it at? Actually, they only have Gobbies and Demons for him. So probably the best line will be for him is 29.5. I think last time against the Commanders he wasn't in play. So at 29.5, his regular line is not up yet. So once that get posted, take his regular line. But as of now, I'll be taking his higher paying Gabi out at 29.5. But I do like his receptions at 4. I have him projected to get 5 in this one. And that rounds up my top picks. You can also target Josh Allen. He's definitely in play. I did take him on a separate slip, and I target his fantasy score. But if you need to do a game stack, obviously, I do like the Commanders and Eagle matchup. So Hurts, Brown, Barkley, and Dallas. Could be a four-man stack. And as far as the Chiefs and Bills, this is a combo you can take. Josh Allen's definitely in play. As far as fantasy scores, Xavier Worthy's receptions is in play. Kincaid can also be in play. Most likely his receptions or his receiving yards. And Mahomes at 20.5. You can never go wrong with Mahomes, especially in the playoffs. He had 26 against Pittsburgh. Houston, he had 12.48. Usually against Bills, he brings his A game. It's going to come down to the final quarter. Probably final minutes. But it should be a good game. I expect both matchups to be good. So mix and match. Pick your favorite. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Appreciate the support. Make sure you guys take advantage of that free square we got. Good luck. Enjoy your weekend. And see you guys in the next one.